What's up, peeps? Your boy Ricky Funes. Welcome to another episode of Tengoose Boxing Talks. Today we have a special guest, my boy Robert Garcia, former IBF world champion. And then we got my dog right here. He wants to be part of this conversation. Welcome, Robert. ¿Cómo estás, Robert?
Hey, thanks, Rick. Thanks for having me, bro.
Bro,
aquí, Chico también aquí wants to be part
he wants
of
to
the
be part of
conversation.
the fucking
That's
conversation.
Awesome, man. Qué bueno.
Hey, Robert, thank you for coming, brother. Robert, I had your brother on here on Monday.
Right.
It was an interesting conversation I had with him. And I wanted to ask you this. A lot of people know Robert Garcia because Maidana, Kelly Pavlik, Bam,
Right.
and all Brandon Rios and all the world champions that you train. But behind the scene, can you tell us a little bit about you, Robert? Like, where'd you grow up and how'd you get in boxing? I know you come from a background of fighters, like your dad and all that.
Right.
But tell us a little bit more about you, who you are, and people. So, because okay, I didn't know this about Robert.
Mira, well, I'm gonna go back from when I was born. My parents, both my parents are from Michoacan, but when my mom was pregnant with me, they lived in Guanajuato. So I was going to be born in Guanajuato, but my mom and my dad, they came to the United States so they could have their first kid born in the States. Para arreglar papeles, you know what I mean, So my mom came illegally to the United States so I could be born. So I was born in San Pedro, California.
Oh, San Pedro.
San Pedro,
really?
yeah.
Okay.
I was born in San Pedro. And as soon as I was born, I think like 40 days after I was born, something like that, took me back to Mexico. So I my first 2 or 3 years, I grew up in Guanajuato. I was living in Guanajuato. Then that's when my parents moved to Oxnard for the strawberry fields. That's when my dad has a cousin that was already in Oxnard, and he told him, "Hey, you got to come over here. There's a lot of work picking strawberries. It's not easy, but there's a lot of work." So that's when my dad came to the States, brought the whole family. It's 7 of us, and that's where I grew up. I grew up in Oxnard, California.
Oxnard. How many brothers total? Sisters as well?
Yeah, we have 4 sisters. It's 3 brothers and 4 sisters. Danny, who is the oldest, he used to fight professional. He used to train with Joe.
Oh, really?
With Joe. Oh, yeah, he trained with Joe for. We were talking about that right now earlier, Ricky. You were still not around, bro. There was a gym. Before this gym, it was in a house. It was like really close to the freeway, like through the back alley or something. Yeah, cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
And I used to go there. Michael Nunn,
Frankie Duarte.
Frankie Duarte was there. There was a lot. The Ruelas were little kids.
How old were you at this time?
I was like 5 or 6, bro.
Oh, wow.
I was like 5 or 6.
You remember that,
I
Robert?
remember that, bro. I remember Michael Nunn. I just used to see his talent, bro. That dude was bad. Lo mirábamos like, man, like, who is this dude? You know what I mean? He used to finish training. He would go out to the yard, fucking the water hose, and that was his shower. His hand wraps, like, all wet, but it was like it was como esto un cul-de-sac, but like they built it into a gym, the house, and that's where my brother started training with Joe Goosen.
Joe.
Yeah.
So if your parents were in Oxnard already, right? How did your brother come all the way over here to
driving, bro, every day? It's what, like 45 minute drive. So my brother would drive. Before that, my brother used to drive, but he would stay there with Ben Lira. Ben Lira in El Monte. And the gym that Ben Lira had at that time, I don't know if it was him or his property. I think it was, but his gym in the back of it was a big property. So in the back of his gym, he had like two or 3 houses. So that's where the fighters stayed. And my brother would stay there all week, come home on the weekends, and go back on Monday throughout training camps.
Yeah.
And there was camps where I would go with my dad, with my brother. I had a few amateur fights with Ben Lira. Ben Lira worked my corner when I was like 6 or 7 years old, bro. When I was like 6 or 7 in the amateurs, before they didn't have those books, right now you need that book.
The book to go into them,
to participate in USA boxing, and you have to be 8.
Yeah.
I was 5, and I was already fighting.
Were you kicking ass at that time?
I had a few good wins, bro. Ben Lira remembers, he'll tell you some stories, and he took me to a couple of my fights when I was under 8 years old, and then my dad.
That's the other coach's name? Adrian?
Yeah. Ben Lira.
No, Adrian Sol, you said?
Huh?
You said another
No,
name.
I was 8 years old.
Oh, 8 years old, okay.
And And then my dad, I guess, found out about Joe Goosen, the Goosens. They had their promotion. My brother found the promotion here in Reseda,
And
the
Reseda
country
Country
club.
Club,
Remember?
yeah.
I was there a couple times.
Wow.
You know, I think I was there when Gabrielas, they broke his hand or something.
Yeah,
Remember?
well,
I think
Jeff
it was,
Franklin.
I think it was there. Yeah,
Jeff Franklin broke his arm.
My brother fought there a couple times, so I remember that. I was just a kid. I remember all that. So then this is Reseda or Van Nuys is a lot closer to Oxnard, so that's when my brother used to drive back and forth.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
What intrigued you that you thought watching your brother? Did that intrigue you to start training?
No, bro, nah, not really. I think it was my dad. My
Yeah.
dad always loved the sport, and he always encouraged us to box, bro. He kind of, I don't want to say he forced us, but
Yeah.
he kind of made us. He turned us into boxing.
Yeah.
I was 5 years old already competing, bro. You know what I mean? My sisters, I have 3 sisters that are older than me, and one that is 2 years younger than me. They all know how to fight. They all
Really?
they never competed because my dad thought that's not for girls,
Yeah.
but he always trained them.
So they could defend themselves.
I used to spar with the one 2 years older than me and the one 2 years younger than me.
manches,
Oh yeah,
for
they were
real?
my sparring partners, my sisters. Oh yeah, for reals, bro. For reals.
And I was talking to Mikey the other day. He says, "I go because Joe would never let Rafa and Gabriel spar because they would go at it." He goes, "Did you go spar Robert?" He goes, "Yeah, fucker, kick my ass."
You know what? He's a lot younger than me,
Yeah,
so
I
he was
know.
just a kid
Yeah.
when we did spar. Because I'm like 12 years older than him, so no, it wasn't really even. It was probably just playing around or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Pero I would have rather not to. You know what I mean? If brothers, como que no,
Yeah.
it's just something like you could even end up. The dad involved, the mom, the family involved, se divide la familia,
Of
so
course,
so
yeah.
I think it was best that we
That you
never
didn't
did that
do that.
much, or went at it that good because it wouldn't have been good,
Robert, when you were a kid and you were training and watching, what big fighters did you in Oxnard were at that time? Besides, I know because you guys put Oxnard on the map. So it was yourself and your brother. Where were you training? I know because I know La Colonia.
That's where we
Is that
trained.
where you grew up,
La
right?
Colonia Boxing Club, yeah.
The La Colonia Boxing
Yes.
Club. When did you? How many amateur fights did you have? And then you started going up to where you say, it's time for me to turn pro.
I had I would say around 70, 75 amateur fights. I don't really remember the
Yeah.
exact number, but it was in. I never made it to 100 fights. So it was like 70, 75 fights. I was 17 when I turned pro. So I didn't have that much in the open division. Most of my fights were,
Novice,
as a young kid. Growing up in the gym, the big name that I was used to train in our gym because he's from Santa Paula, Lupe Aquino. Lupe Aquino became a champion. He used to train there in La Colonia with my brother. They used to travel together to El Monte to train with Ben Lira. So they were pretty close. Lupe would show up to the gym, with his belt, the WBC belt, when he became champion. So that had to motivate
you.
everybody in the gym. Fernando Vargas was Fernando Vargas is 3 years younger than me. So he was coming up, a little kid, but he's seen all that too, and then obviously Fernando Vargas seen me turn pro, and when I turned pro I was 17, so he was 14, so that was kind of like motivation for him too.
Yeah.
So it was como una cadenita, then Mikey came right behind that.
Yeah.
So it was that's the way it was, but Lupe Aquino was the first
Guy that you looked up to.
guy that we seen become a world champion in our gym.
Did you
training
ever
in our
spar
gym.
with him?
No.
I sparred Lupe.
You did?
Fuck, bro. Lupe Aquino was so heavy-handed, bro.
That he had power, bro.
I was 16
I'm pretty
years
sure my
old.
brother Danny did. I don't remember seeing them spar because I was just a kid, but I'm pretty sure Danny did spar him, but he hit hard.
He was heavy-handed
Yeah,
when
he
I
was,
was.
he
Well, I
was.
mean, he'll take it easy. I mean, I
Right,
was
right,
16
right.
years old.
Yeah.
When you have an experienced he was a former world champion
Right,
at that time.
right.
This was 1993, 94.
yeah.
Bro, he has I'm talking about heavy hands that
Right.
you.
It's
I
true.
go, damn.
Yeah.
So when you turned pro, you were 17?
I was 17,
You turned
bro.
Mexico or here?
No, I turned pro in Tokyo.
For
You
real?
didn't know that, bro?
I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah, check this out. I was 15 years old when I fought in the Silver Gloves, the Nationals.
Okay.
So I made it to the finals. In the very last fight, in the very finals, I lost to a kid from New Jersey, from Patterson, New Jersey, David Toledo, who was a great fighter, man. Good. His brother actually became world champion, Frankie Toledo, but David beat me in the finals, but it was a very close fight. His team approached me right away. Approached me and my dad, obviously. They're like, look, in New Jersey, we have a good setup, good team. Lou Duba supports us, main events, So it kind of caught our attention. So my dad moved me to New Jersey when I was 15. I was up there for a while.
Really?
Yeah, in New Jersey when I was 15. I didn't like it, bro. After a while, I called my dad, like, I don't want to be here. So he brought me back. So when he brought me back, already 16, at 16, he started taking me to LA to go do a lot of sparring in LA. And I started sparring Gennaro Hernandez, Chicanito Hernandez. And same thing, they liked my work. So I was sparring Gennaro. And at that time, Gennaro was going to fight for the world title. His first world title fight against Daniel Ondas at 130 pounds. And I was fighting at featherweight. So, good sparring. Yeah. Not that big, not that much of a difference. So they took me with them to France.
Sorry, Robert. What year was this?
This was in, I'd say 91, 92 maybe. Wow. I was 16, bro. Damn. So 91. When he became champion, they took me with them. We went like 2 or 3 weeks before the fight, to France. The fight was in France. And they took me with them. So I was his main sparring partner over there for 2 weeks. Yeah. Mr. Honda was there. He was Gennaro's promoter. So he seen me spar, asked me a few questions. I told him I wanted to maybe try out for the 92 Olympics. And that was it. He didn't tell me anything. My dream was to maybe make the Olympic team. So we came back. Rudy kept working with me. Yeah. Rudy actually took me to the Western Trials. We drove there, bro, from LA all the way to Arizona. Yeah, we drove all the way over there. Him and his friend drove. We drove to Arizona. Had the tournament. I lost in the very finals to Daniel Jorin from Sacramento. He actually became a world champion too.
Really?
Oh yeah, he became a champion. So I got eliminated. So after that, I was already 17. And then Gennaro's going to do his first title defense in Tokyo, Japan. And Rudy tells me, you could turn pro at 17 in Tokyo. I'm like, for reals? I don't have to be 18 at 17. Yes. So I'm like, fuck it, I want to do it.
Hell yeah, that was bad,
and I prepared myself. And at the same time, sparring Gennaro.
Yeah.
So we went again.
Great experience.
We went again like for 2 or 3 weeks before the fight. Finished up training camp over there, and I turned pro. My first 3 fights were in Tokyo.
Did Rudy look like Cantinflas back then?
Rudy's always been one of my close friends, bro. Honestly, in boxing, we meet up once in a while for lunch. He drives to Riverside, or we go to Mikey's. We've been with Mikey's boat. We go on a little tour with and Rudy goes with us. He's been a really good friend. We've been friends since, bro. And he's a person that my son Pita, he says, man, I love talking to Rudy because everything he fucking says,
he's straight out.
Exactly. He's not gonna bullshit you, man. He's gonna tell you the truth. And we like to hear it from him. He'll tell me if he's something he likes, and if something he doesn't, he's gonna let you know.
Does he always have his toothpick with you all the time?
Before, not anymore. He doesn't do that anymore.
I haven't seen. He doesn't. But he always has the fucking Bluetooth.
Yeah, he always has that. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck he has that shit for, right? But he always had the toothpick. He stopped that. I don't know why. I think he said something in a country was like disrespecting. He said that's why he stopped doing it.
Really?
Because I don't know what country he went to. I think I could be wrong, but I think I asked him one day, how come you don't have your toothpick anymore?
Oh, I'm asking him. Because this is the other thing. He has that fucking Bluetooth on. I mean, the blue shit on. I go eat with him. I go out. I never seen nobody give him a call. Nobody calls him. Why the fuck you have that shit on?
Why can't you just have a phone and answer whenever they call you, right?
I think he wants to sound more important.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
So, Robert, when you turned pro 17 in Japan, what was your experience right there?
Bro, I was just a kid, bro. I was 17. So for me, it was just a dream, bro. In Tokyo, in Japan, bro, under Gennaro Hernandez defending his title, Mr. Honda, and over there in Japan, bro, when you go there, they treat you so good. The country is so beautiful. The people are so respectful. Everything's clean. After the fight, they present you with big trophies
Yeah.
and flowers and everything. The crowd is unbelievable. So
Better than America.
oh my God, bro, come on, So my first 3 professional fights, where a lot of fighters go do it in fucking Tijuana. We pay for the opponents.
correct.
Mr. Honda paying me pretty good money. After the fight, gave me. I remember one thing that he gave me after the fight is he gave me a Walkman. Remember those Walkmans?
Yeah, Walkman,
We used to
yeah.
have? But it was cordless. In 91 or
You
92,
don't hear that.
like nobody. I was the first. When I came back home, I was still in high school, bro. It was during the summer between my junior and senior year. So during the summers when I turned pro,
Yeah.
then I became senior, and I fought a couple times more in Tokyo while I was in high school. So I come to school with my cordless. Everybody was like, oh,
where'd you get it
we
from?
still hadn't seen that. Got it from Tokyo. You know what I mean? So that was pretty.
Was that your
tough.
first time going flying out of the country?
When we were amateurs, we had a tournament where Oscar De La Hoya, Shane Mosley were part of it too. I was part of it too, versus Germany, but it was in Florida. So we didn't travel to Germany. The only place I had been to was Mexico with my mom.
Not going to that, Robert. You growing up, I even forgot to ask you this. Growing up in that era, I know there was Oscar, Shane Mosley, the Ruelas as well.
The Ruelas,
Who?
yeah. I sparred Gabriel Ruelas a lot, bro.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. Here
Who
in this
was
gym.
to me, the toughest to spar was Rafael.
Rafael was tough, bro.
He wouldn't take it easy.
Yeah.
I would just
No.
I had
And he had power, bro. That fucker hit hard. Yeah.
Who besides Oscar De La Hoya, Shane Mosley, all became world champion. You became a world champion. What are the fighters that were out there, Robert, that you said, man, this guy's gonna be the top?
You know who was part of our team when we were training with Oscar in Big Bear? Because we were all in the same management team with Oscar. After I came back from Tokyo and I had 2 fights at the Great Western Forum, then Top Rank signed me. So I was 5-0 when Top Rank signed me, but they signed me and it was through Oscar's management.
Okay.
So I was fighting under Oscar De La Hoya. So we used to do our training camps with Oscar. Pepe Riley, the one, Pepe Riley was there with us too, and he didn't become a champion, but he was talented,
badass.
bro.
I heard
He was.
With
Pepe
John
Riley.
Bray too. John
Bray, I remember John Bray too. Yeah, but Pepe Riley, I remember Paul Banke used to train with us too.
Wow.
I sparred with Paul Banke.
What was he badass?
Some badass sparring matches, bro. Oh yeah.
I just saw Paul Banke yesterday at the press conference. Man, Paul, damn.
Yeah, we had some good sparring matches. He was a warrior, bro. But yeah, Pepe Riley is probably the one that didn't become a champion, but was very talented too. Yeah.
What do you think, Robert, that caused something like that? That's so talented, but didn't make it that far.
Bro, sometimes it's probably sometimes it's luck, because sometimes the champions that are in your division are just so talented that as you could be as good as you,
And they just overcome
but
that.
then they're just better than you. We've had situations here in the United States, here in Southern California. Jose Navarro, Olympian, 4 times he fought for the world title, and all 4 he didn't win because the champions were just better. Or maybe one time he went to Japan. I heard he got robbed. You know what I mean?
And it discourages somebody, you think?
Silver medalist from Houston, Texas. ¿Cómo se llama? 2000 Olympian, silver medalist.
Rocky
Juarez fought like 3 times for the world title, never became champion because maybe the champions were just so good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of times fighters become champions maybe because the title went vacant, or maybe the champion got injured, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You never know. Because there's been a lot of occasions where there's so much talent and they still never become champions.
It's crazy. It happens a lot.
It happens a lot.
Who discovered you from Top Rank, Robert?
I think it was,
that you said, man, okay, this is the guy. This is gonna be a world champion.
No, well, back then, bro, honestly, I was 17, just turned 18 when so I don't even remember. I think it was all through Golden Boy Promotions. Through Golden Boy, it was in his promotion. Yeah, it was through Oscar and his dad, Alcazar, who seen me, who knew who I was, and they're the ones that took me to Top Rank.
Top Rank.
Yeah, because I think when I got to Top Rank, like Brad Guman was still not there.
Yeah.
He was still in New York.
What year was this? Because I know
93.
Yeah, because I know Dan Goosen was vice president for Top Rank. Was he vice president at that
I
time?
don't remember. Probably was, because it was in 93.
Yeah, because I remember them signing Gabriel and Rafael.
Yeah.
They brought him in with a good bone, and I go, damn. I still remember you, Robert. Who was your first title, Robert?
My first title was in Florida. I fought Harold Warren for the IBF title. Harold Warren, he was signed with Don King. We had it was a vacant title because Arturo Gatti had vacated the title.
Wow.
You know what? Let me go back a little bit. Gennaro Hernandez, rest in peace, Gennaro.
Yeah.
We were growing up. Well, he was older than me, but like in the same weight class. And one thing between him and I don't know if Rudy knows this, bro, but we always said, look, we're in the same weight. We're never gonna fight each other. And I was number 1 in the WBC when he was a champion, but I didn't go after him because that was something between you and him and I, that we were never gonna fight each other. And you know who else also was part of that group? Carlos Hernandez. But Carlos did fight him.
That's what I was gonna tell you.
Famoso.
Yeah, Famosito. Because I was gonna tell you that because I remember we were in Big Bear with Joe, myself, Gabriel, Rafael. We were getting ready for a big fight. Well, Rafael was getting to ready to fight Freddie Pendleton, I believe, and Carlos Hernandez wanted to get out of the Oscar de la Hoya contract, which Joe helped him out.
He was there too, yeah.
Yeah, I remember. That's crazy that you said
Famosito.
that. Famosito.
And he did end up fighting Gennaro, but I didn't. I was ranked number 1 for the WBC, but I was also ranked number 1 for the IBF. So when Arturo Gatti vacated the title, well, number 1 and number 2 fight for the vacant title. So it was me and Harold Warren.
Yeah.
So the fight was done in Florida. I became champion. Then my first title defense was in Atlantic City because when you win a vacant title, still now the rule's still the same. When you win, you have to fight your mandatory right away. So my mandatory was a Cuban, Ramon Ledon. I don't know if you were there, but Gabriel Ruelas fought on that card.
On the Gotti,
It was Gabe Ruelas.
versus Gotti.
No, it wasn't versus Gotti.
No?
Not that one. And it was Atlantic City.
I remember.
At the Trump casino.
Yeah. I'm trying to think
Taj
who it
Mahal.
was.
I think it was. But anyways, Ruelas fought on that card. I know for a fact.
Okay.
I don't know if it was against Arturo Gatti. I don't think it was. No, it wasn't Arturo Gatti. No, it wasn't that card.
No.
But he fought on that same card when I defended my title for the first time against Ramon Ledon.
How tough was that fight?
Oh, fuck. He dropped me in the second round.
Really?
He dropped me and I went straight back. And my dad told me after the fight that him and Danny, my brother, that Danny told my dad, I don't think he's going to get up, Dad. And my dad's like, he'll get up. So I got up. I was hurt, survived the round. And then that was in the second round. Then in the 5th round, I hurt him and I knocked him out. So that's when I became champion.
That's when you became world champion.
The fight against Harold Warren for the vacant title, he wasn't champion.
Yeah. It was just vacant.
It was a vacant title, and I boxed and I won pretty much, I would say, every round. So before even they announced the winner, I kind of already knew. So it didn't give me that feeling as a champion.
Yeah.
Getting dropped by Ramon Ledon
and coming
back to knock him out, that's what made me feel like
world champion.
That made me a champion right there.
I got the chance.
Yeah. Yeah, but that fight, Ruelas fought on that card.
Did he really?
Yeah, Gabriel.
Which one?
I don't remember who he fought, but he fought on that card.
To prepare for that fight, Robert, can you tell us a little bit? Because what was your preparation? Because I know you have a system with your fighters. Do you carry the same system with your fighters that you did when you were growing up and your dad? It's different.
It's different, bro. A lot different. A lot of things has changed, bro. Before, old school Mexican, it's hard work. 5 a.m, you got to be running already because you got to get the fresh air. Honestly, that was the mentality before, bro. Or I don't know if you went through this, but we went through this. Me, Fernando Vargas. My dad, no education, just loves the sport and learned a lot of boxing because he studied boxing. He used to see I remember him. I was 3-4 years old. He used to take us to LA to see I remember Roberto Duran training, bro, when I was like 3 or 4 years old. Pipino Cuevas. My dad would love the sport. So he started sport, but he didn't know nutrition. He didn't know none of that. So
strength conditioning and
nothing.
All that.
So for him, to cut weight, it was not letting us drink water. You know what I mean? Back then, we used to train on fucking sauna suits, sparring and everything. Because that's the mentality. If you don't sweat, if you don't have a sweat, you're not having a good workout.
Yeah.
Man, I don't do that anymore, man.
Yeah.
Now the more water you drink, the easier it is to make weight. These guys right now are drinking 2 gallons a day.
You have to.
And before we used to drink this much water a
right.
day.
How it's crazy how that.
So it's a big difference, bro.
How fighters get scared to eat when you should be eating.
Should be eating, bro.
Yeah, eating, drinking water.
Yes, drinking water. Before we were afraid to drink water. This much water is what my dad was giving us, bro.
I was just telling your brother the other day that I remember when Gabriel fought Gotti that the whole week he dried out and he was walking around all sucked up and his lip chapped and shit because no water.
That's the way it was, bro.
Not even the ice. You couldn't suck it up. Getting the gum, spitting, chewing, the saliva.
That's the way we used to do it. It was old school, bro. So now a lot has changed, bro. All this fight, we give them water throughout the day, a lot of water. Yeah, their meals, obviously when they're cutting weight, they have to cut them to smaller portions, but they're still eating. They don't stop eating till the day before the night before the weigh-in.
Yeah.
That's when they stop eating and drinking just to cut weight, to make weight the next day in the morning. We used to do that for 2 weeks, bro. 2 weeks before.
I remember.
No fucking water. Even during training camp, I remember being in Big Bear in training camp and getting ready for our fights. And we would take little walks, with the teammates.
Yeah.
My dad would stay in the house, and we would fucking sneak into fucking Kmart and fucking buy ourselves some.
Kmart, I still remember Kmart.
It's closed now. There.
What?
Ya está cerrada la Kmart ahí in Big Bear. Yeah. So we used to get like a gallon of fucking Gatorade or apple juice. We would chug it because we were just so fucking thirsty.
Yeah. Shit.
You know what I mean? It's the mentality.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming my dad either because he didn't know better.
That's
He
what you
still
guys
made
do
me a
best.
champion. He still made Fernando a champion.
Yeah.
He still made Mikey a champion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's the old school mentality. But now it's a big difference, bro. When it comes to training, I do train my fighters hard.
Yeah.
They spar a lot. I think sparring is the
It's
most
so-
important thing,
most
bro.
important thing.
They need to spar.
And hitting the heavy bag, I always say heavy bag.
a lot of fighters don't know, and now they think that doing mitts every day is what. No, if you hit the bag the way you're supposed to,
And you're gonna
that's
be
gonna
in
get you in
great shape.
And you spar. When I was training Chavez Jr., well, you were part of that too. When we were training, nice stories that we could take. That's a good story for another
one.
for another episode,
Yeah.
bro. When we were there, his dad came to the gym one day, and Chavez did 12 rounds, and he's like, damn, he's never done that before. So he did 12 rounds. Then we did a few rounds with mitts and everything. And he told me, look, Robert, when I was fighting, the first time I did mitts was when I went to Emmanuel Stewart. Before that, I never did mitts before. I never hit the speed bag.
Yeah.
I always sparred a lot and hit the bag. That's what got me to where hitting the bag and sparring.
Yeah.
The rest is just, hitting speed bag.
Speed bag and all that.
He says, I don't know how to hit the speed bag.
Shadow boxing?
Yeah, shadow boxing, sparring and hitting the fucking bag.
What would you consider your toughest opponent, Robert, when you were
As a fighter,
Yeah, as a fighter. That you say, fuck, this is the toughest camp, toughest fight.
my toughest camp was probably when I fought Chico Corrales. Yeah, cutting weight and all that. It was horrible, bro.
Well, so now that you mentioned that, Robert, we didn't have Diego at that time, but
Right.
I was listening to some stories that your brother told me how when he fought Robert Easton and Errol Spence. Did you ever go through that, Robert, injuries? Because every fighter's some way, somehow goes through an injury. And
Everybody
going
goes.
to a fight.
That's why there's no excuses, bro.
Yeah.
That night, Chico Corrales became a world champion, and he became a fucking legend. At that night, it hurt me, bro. It hurt me to lose my title. But now, man, I fucking brag saying my fucking Chico Corrales beat me for my title.
Yeah.
He became a legend, bro. The fights that he had, I'm proud of it, But yeah, every fighter goes through that, bro. Cutting weight, My dad sometimes doesn't even believe it, but I tell him, and it happens to everybody, bro. We're fucking cutting weight, and we get up and nos desmayamos y nos damos un putazo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It happens.
Were you ever injured going into that fight, Robert?
Not injured, bro. But
Mentally, physically,
but I wasn't
100%.
I wasn't 100% porque también, I got a little cold, I got the chills, cutting weight and cutting weight and not having those liquids inside of you.
Yeah.
They take a lot of your immune system just goes
The
to
shits.
nothing. So you get a little sick. Most of the fight, but it's not like it only happened to me that time.
Yeah.
That's I lost because Corrales was better than me.
Okay.
He had power,
Yeah.
and he was better. But I could probably still say that the toughest. See, okay, let's go back. Corrales wasn't with you guys back then.
No.
But my 3 losses were
It's all
for 3
to all the
fucking
guys.
Joe Goose and fucking fighters.
I'll tell him was
Ben Tacky was my
Ben
toughest
Tacky.
motherfucker, bro.
I sparred Ben Tacky.
Ben Tacky, that motherfucker. I was beating the shit out of him, bro. You remember?
Man, he had a big head
I
like
was
this.
beating, and he wouldn't go nowhere. And he was still, every time he would come to me,
Forward.
woo, woo, he would make little noises like, motherfucker, came to my head. And last round, he fucking knocked me out. Last round. And I was winning every single round. I think I never really got to see the fight.
You don't even want to see it.
None of my fights. I don't see them, especially the ones that I lost. I don't see them. But a lot of people told me that commenter that was talking about how badass performance I was having. But he caught me in the last round. That was the strongest fighter I ever faced.
Those
But
guys from Ghana are strong,
yeah, oh my
man.
God. That was the strongest. I think the toughest because of his experience. He knew how to elbow. He knew how to headbutt. John Molina.
He was a
veteran. Yeah. When I fought him, he was already a veteran.
But you beat him.
I beat him. Yeah,
Yeah,
I won.
you beat him.
But he was already a veteran. He was already experienced fighter. So he was the most difficult guy because he had tricks, bro. Casamayor was probably the most talented fighter I lost to because that fucker was talented. He was talented.
All those guys that you box, I box. I mean, look, I don't know what you consider. I think I was a world-class champion inside the sparring park when it was come to fight, Robert. I suck. but you know, it's the experience. You get what I'm saying, Robert?
Yeah.
But yeah, I still remember Ben Tag. Fuck, Joe's gonna lose. He's gonna fucking lose. You think that you give it your 100%, Robert? That towards the end you just didn't have enough energy.
I think it was so much the hard workouts, the cutting weight, the not drinking water for 2 weeks before the fight. That in the late rounds, it was always in the late after 6 rounds. Yeah. You know, the first 6, I think with Joel Casamora, I was winning. I think at the cards with Corrales, I think I was also winning. But it was more towards in the later rounds where my body is like Ben Tacky. It was in the last round, the 10th round. I was winning. I was boxing beautiful, and he caught me. I think it was all the weight cut that I did, 2 weeks before the fight, that, my body didn't recover.
I still remember when you fought, and I was at the UNLV Las Vegas when you fought Casamayor. And then after the fight, you were still happy that you saw Adam Sandler, Rob Schneider.
I still have that picture with
do
me,
you
bro.
really? You were happy. You didn't give a fuck about the fight. I said, I want a picture with Adam Sandler, Rob Schneider.
And to be honest, before that fight, I really didn't want to fight anymore. But then it was a world title opportunity that they were giving me, decent money. So I'm like, fuck it, let's do it. But I really wasn't into fighting anymore. I took the fight, and yeah, of course I tried. But I was more excited about Adam Sandler right there watching us fight, bro. Because I love his.
You know, we were
moves.
gonna get our ass kicked. It was me and my best friend Manny and a few of us guys. Because we were rooting for Casamayor, and I know you, but I knew you way before that because we always been cool.
Yeah, but you were working with Casamayor,
I was Casamayor, and then Fernando Vargas, his boy. Oh, we were gonna get on.
There was a few fights, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was a lot of Cubans también ahí.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends from Oxnard, they in the parking lot, they beat up on a few guys, bro. I don't want to fucking say I'm proud of it, but
you had a lot of backup.
My backup, they did beat up on a few guys in the parking lots.
What kind of not that it turned you out, Robert, but what makes you think like, this is not for me? I don't want to box no more. I'm gonna take a couple more fights, or I'm gonna take one more fight.
See, already going into the Casamayor fight, like you said, I was more excited about Adam Sandler and Rob Schneider. They're watching me fight. Right after the fight, the next day, my whole plan was after the fight. I was already thinking about what I was gonna do the next day. And I got married the next day.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
really?
I got married. So all that was already planned out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like being the week of Vegas, I focused on going to county to register to get married. Go to the casino because where we were staying in the casino, they had a chapel. So I focused on taking care of that. So I took care of the fight. Next day in the morning, I'm getting married in Vegas. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wasn't too much focused on the fight. Not that the results would have been any different either, because
Yeah.
Samayo's was a gold medalist, a badass dude. He was a
Yeah.
talented fighter. Like I told you, I think probably the most talented fighter I faced in my career. So it doesn't say I would have beat him,
Yeah.
but I was focused on Adam Sandler, Rob Schneider.
You didn't care about nothing else but that.
Me getting married the next day
Yeah.
with my wife. All week I was focused on all that, and I still fight. I I'm not saying I didn't want to fight, but I already knew
It was not in you no more.
it was not in me anymore. So I
Yeah.
had one more fight. After that. It was when Fernando Vargas beat Shibata Flores for the WBA title at the Mandalay Bay. I fought on that card, and right there is where
You said no.
I was fighting, bro, and I was fighting some dude that had like
Did you win that fight?
I won that fight.
Yeah.
Pero I think I stopped him 5th or 6th round, but like the 2nd or 3rd round, I'm in front of him and I'm focused on other stuff, and I'm seeing this guy in front of me, and I swear to God, I thought to myself, what am I doing? Why am I in here with this guy that
Really?
like, why am I trying to beat up on this guy that I don't even know? And that came to my mind to a point where I swear to God, I was gonna turn my a no mas.
Yeah.
I was gonna bust a no mas and walk out of the ring and go to the locker room. But Fernando Vargas was the main event. A lot of people from Oxnard were there, so they all knew what. So I finished the fight and I stopped the guy.
Yeah.
I stopped him like 5 or 6 rounds. I stopped him, got out of the ring, in the locker room. Everybody's happy because I won. But I told everybody, nothing to celebrate. I'm never gonna fight again.
That was your last fight.
And that was my last fight.
Look, Robert, I know you were very successful and you became world champion. A lot of people cannot ever say that I became world champion. But now going to the future, your first world champion that you built as a Robert Garcia world-class trainer. Because I look up to you, because I consider myself a trainer. I look up to you, and sometimes I watch Ali Setback's videos, and I go, okay, wow, that's just good shit. Okay, I'm gonna use this. Robert, I look up to you, and I always admire you. I'm telling you this now, but you never want to go up to a person and say, hey, but I always have respect for you. We respect. There's only a few trainers that I follow and I like not copy. I cannot say copy because every fighter has their own style, but I admire you the way you dedicate yourself and how you spend time with your fighters. I copy some of your stuff in a sense, meaning, okay, I'm gonna use that, and I'm gonna use that. Which was your first fighter, and then going on from there, from your list on?
You know what? When I started training fighters,
Did you want to be part of the boxing? Basically,
after I retired, I was out of boxing, bro. I said, never again. I'm out. I'm done with boxing. I started taking some college classes. I wanted to become a police officer. So I started taking some college classes, but then I went on a ride along with a cop, and I told him that I said, "This is not for me." What I seen and the way I see, it is. They choose whoever they want, and sometimes people that don't deserve a ticket or don't deserve their car taken away because in Oxnard, a lot of them are illegals. A lot of them don't have a driver license, and seeing stuff like that. When I started going on ride-alongs with another police officer, I said, nah, I can't do that. I can't do stuff like this. So my dad, at that time, he was still running La Colonia Boxing Club. So he told me, come over, help me with some of these amateurs. So I started going, helping out my dad. Then he gave me that position, to take over for working for the city of Oxnard as a coach right there in Colonia. And I went to the Nationals with Mikey, to the Junior Olympics. Somewhere in Louisiana. We go to the Nationals, and right there I see a lot of talented fighters, but one that caught my attention was Victor Ortiz. And I approached him because I had a rental, and all the California kids told me to take him to the mall, and Victor, I don't know how, he tagged along.
Oh, did he really?
And during the time in the mall, I had a few minutes with him, to talk to him, and he told me, his story, parents leaving them and all that, So I gave him my number. I said, look, Victor, if you ever need some help or something, give me a call. I didn't tell him I want to sign
you.
you.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in trouble, just give me a call. Because his story was pretty sad.
Yeah.
True or not true, it was sad.
Yeah.
I came home. A couple weeks later, he tells me he has nowhere to live. He's running around with no shoes with his little brother, you know, in the streets. I felt bad. So I flew him to LA, picked him up, and had him, you know, move into my house. And that's when I approached Cameron Duncan.
You started doing business.
That's
with
when I
Cameron.
started working with Cameron Duncan. Rest in peace, Cameron Duncan.
Yeah.
I love Cameron Duncan.
He was one of the best guys.
Great manager, man.
Yeah.
So I approached Cameron Duncan. Then right after Victor, right away we also met Brandon Rios.
Bam Bam.
Bam. You know, brought him over too. And those were the two that
Guys that you began with.
Yeah, that I began working with, and then working with Cameron. And Cameron knowing that my dad was still involved, you know, because my dad, you know, Fernando Vargas, myself, and, you know, so my dad, a lot of, you know, Cameron Duncan knew my dad had a lot of knowledge. Yeah. So he sends us Stevie Luevano.
I remember Stevie.
Stevie Luevano was my first world champion. So we trained Stevie Luevano. He's fighting. We had to travel all the way to England to fight Nicky Cook.
Okay.
And we go out there, you know, my dad's still in the gym. My dad was a big part of, you know, the game plan and everything for Stevie Luevano's world title fight. But I was, you know, I was the one training him, and I was the one that went to England. And he knocked out Nicky Cook in the 11th round to become champion. So he was my first world champion.
How was that feeling?
You know,
was it the feeling that you had when you became world champion?
No, more, bro.
Really?
Yeah, when I became champion, it wasn't that much of a deal. When I had my first world champion.
That's the best.
And then it just started like that. After that,
it was like a domino effect, huh?
Top rank. I guess they seen what the work that I did or that we did, because I don't want to say it was just myself. Yeah. Like I told him, my dad was also part of it. Then they send me Brian Viloria. Brian Viloria, Hawaiian Punch. He starts coming to the gym. This was after he had already become champion. He had already lost his title, so a lot of people were already counting him out. When he came to me, we had some fights at the Alameda Swap Meet, bro. When it was pouring rain, we were in the locker room in some trailers that Top Rank rented out. Yeah. So for the locker rooms, we had to carry him into the ring because it was so wet that his shoes would have got all wet. So we carried him into the ring so he could fight. Wow. We went through that, and then we get that title shot against Archie Solis, who at that time was the main guy at 108. And again, Brian Viloria knocked him out in the 11th round. So
your second world champion.
My second world champion there.
Wow.
And then after that, you know, it's a story. We've won more titles, but
making them
when that became champions with me, it's 14 fighters. Mikey was a 5-time champion. Nonito Droner was like a 4-time champion with me too, but we don't count every. I just count them.
You the ones that you bet, like Steve,
just individual fighters that
Mikey.
Became champions. Yeah, I don't count how many titles. Yeah, I count how many fighters became champions with. Yeah. So it's 14 so far.
14. Wow.
Yeah, 14 so far.
So can you tell us the names?
Fuck, I don't know if I can remember.
Maybe I'll help you out.
Well, Brian and Steve Luevano, Brandon obviously, Nonito, Maidana. No, Margarito never became a champion with me, bro.
Oh, no?
No, so I don't count
Brandon Rios,
Maidan, Cuellar from Argentina too.
Yeah.
Veneno Rubio from Mexico became champion with me. Became WBC champion and then lost it to Triple G. Remember?
Yeah.
He lost the title to Triple G. Veneno Rubio. Most recently, Abner Mares, Jose Ramirez.
Kelly Pavlik?
Josh. No, Kelly Pavlik did not become champion. So he's not one of the... I don't count him as a champion.
Bam.
They were champions working with me, but I never made them champions. Bam became champion. His brother Josh, the 105-pounder Licona became champion with me. I don't know if we mentioned all 14, but you know.
Yeah, but those are some. Yeah. Wow. See,
Gradovich, Mexican-Russian. Don't forget the Mexican-Russian. Yeah,
he was tough.
Yeah,
man.
So 14 world champions. Yeah.
Wow. Any regrets, Robert, that you go back and say, I could have done this different?
A lot of fights, bro.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, a lot of times that I could say I should have done. Most recently, and I don't blame myself because the fighter has to
do his part.
Exactly. Most recently, our from Brazil, he's a silver medalist.
We were supposed to fight him actually.
Falcao. Esquiva Falcao.
Yeah.
He knows he's already fighting for the world title. The title's vacant. Triple G vacates the title, you know.
Yeah.
So you're lucky you're not fighting Triple G, right? So the title's going vacant. You know you're fighting
A German guy.
But the number 2 guy was some guy from Australia. But the guy from Australia chose to go for the WBA instead. So we go to the number 3 guy who nobody thought he had a chance against Falcao. So there, Falcao also thought it's an easy fight, so he didn't do things right.
He didn't listen to you.
After the fight, when we came back, all the guys in training camp told me, Robert, every day he was ordering Kentucky Fried Chicken. He was ordering all those hamburger spots, the Wingstop, you know,
all kinds of dirty junk food that he shouldn't be doing.
So when he's out there trying to cut weight, he's giving up on us. He's got 7 pounds to go, and he's like, no, I can't do it. I'm not going to make weight. I said, you better fucking make weight. I made him make weight. Yeah. But all that took a lot of, so he went and lost the fight, a fight that he should have became champion. So I could say I blame some of the trainer. But I have a family too, bro. I'm not a fucking babysitter.
Correct.
They have to be dedicated. My fighters have to be dedicated.
You have your job already inside the gym. If you do outside, that's your
He would have become, you know, true story. We get there, the day of the weigh-ins, the weigh-ins are at the arena and it's a nice little arena. So I'm talking to the promoter. The promoter, bro, I'm saying, man, is this place gonna be packed? He's like, it's gonna be packed, Robert. We're gonna have, it was like maybe 13,000 seat arena. He's like, we're gonna have a lot of Germans, but we're gonna have like maybe 3,000 to 4,000 Italians. I'm like, why Italians? He says, cause your opponent, his parents are Italian. Oh, wow. He's from Germany, but his parents come from Italy. So we're gonna have a lot of Italians. And he told me, we have no chance, but they're still gonna be here. Yeah. But we have no chance of winning. Even his promoter knew he had no chance of winning. Falcao's a fucking medalist, you know, but he did it himself. Yeah. He did it to himself. That's why right after the fight, Top Rank released him. His manager released him. Wow. You know what I mean?
For messing up, yeah.
Because he did it himself, bro.
It's like something Rudy would say.
He did it to himself. I'm not a babysitter either. Yeah. You know, but sometimes I think like maybe I should have done a little bit more. Yeah. But come on, if I do that with one, then I'm going to do it with 30
Everybody, more. Yeah.
No, I tell all these guys, you guys see Bam? You guys see Jose Ramirez right now in camp? You guys see Virgil Ortiz? Yes. There's a few guys from Texas that I have. New guys, I said, okay, you guys see, right, the way training camp is. I do my work, sparring, do some rounds of mitts. Then I go to the next one. Virgil stays with his dad or with my son or with somebody else. Jose Ramirez spars. I do my work with Jose Ramirez. I don't wait. I'm not there until he finishes. He knows what he has to do. Yeah. Bam, same thing. They come to training camp and they know what they're here for. Yeah. They're here to work hard. I'm not babysitting them. They know. Yeah. And they're happy, bro. They're all happy because they know the work is getting done.
Damn, man. People don't know the life, huh? The life of a camp.
So for that fight with Falcao, I was a little upset because we should have become champion. Should have become champion. He should have been my 15.
You know, I still remember, Robert, you gave me your blessing one time when Bam Bam had retired. Yeah. And I called, you know me, like I always have respect. I had to call you out of courtesy and say, hey, Robert, you think, you know, Bam Bam is coming out of retirement, he wants me to work with him. You said, Ricky, I prefer you working with him than anybody else.
Exactly, bro.
You know, to me, even though he was retired, it's just courtesy.
Right.
But that motivated me too, because I'm still trying to, I haven't even made my first world champion yet. Right. God willing, I will someday, Robert. But, you know, that's my goal to follow in your steps. Why? One thing is because you're humble. Other thing is you like sharing your knowledge. You're not selfish. You're not like other people. But that's one thing that I do admire. Like Rudy. Rudy, you know, gives me advice, but he's an asshole. But pinche pelón, you know. But he's the greatest, dude. I love Rudy.
He's a good man.
He's a good dude, man. Well, Robert, man, we could continue doing another segment, God willing, in the future. But man, I appreciate you coming here, taking your time, and tell us about yourself. We're gonna be continuing second one again, God willing, in the future. Tell us more about Bam and Victor
We have
T
to,
story.
because we have to. Yeah, we could do all that. You
Yeah.
know, like you said, Bam, Virgil. You know,
Yeah.
the new ones that I have,
I
like
like
little
Bam,
Bam.
man.
You know, it looks like it's gonna be announced pretty soon, bro.
Yeah,
It's
he's
big fight.
big,
Yeah,
big fight?
Yeah,
In
big
Japan
fight.
or here?
No, here
Yeah.
in Arizona. Yeah, yeah. Va a estar buena.
He's a badass kid.
Yeah, he's a bad
man.
little dude, bro.
Well, any projects besides those fights, Robert, that you got going on?
Well, you know what? Besides boxing, bro, because if you think about it, I've had some really good years, bro. When my Dana, Mikey, Brandon were making a lot of fucking money, so I was doing good too.
Yeah.
But then there comes a time also where you don't have a lot of big fights, or I have a lot of fights because I have a lot of fighters, bro. I have maybe close to 30 professional fighters.
Damn.
So I'm busy every weekend, pero none of them are making a lot of money. So I've learned from my dad and Mikey that a little bit, save it, invest it, something. So I've been able to buy a few properties also. I just opened up a carniceria,
What's the name of the carniceria?
El Campeón.
El Campeón.
In
It's
Riverside. El
Riverside.
Campeón Carniceria in Riverside, yeah.
Well, besides that, Robert, I know that you, before you became world champion, I still remember your car navigator, but I know you have bought properties too before, because like I always tell people, us as trainers, we have the shittiest job and we have the shittiest pay.
Mm-hmm.
You were very successful at the fighters that you made, and I know you made good, very investments in real estate.
Correct.
So you still have those properties there.
I still have my properties, bro. It's because like I'm telling you, if you we didn't go to school. Like we went to school, but we didn't study business or anything.
Yeah.
So my dad's the one that told us the easiest way is just buy a house, man. In 10 years it's already gonna be double the price, and you're getting money every month, rent money.
Yeah.
And if you don't pay it off, it's still paying off, but with the rent, eventually you're gonna have $200,000-$300,000 equity. So we've been doing that. Mikey obviously in another level.
Yeah.
My dad is doing really good. My dad is really good at that in the Riverside area. I still have my 2 houses in Oxnard and a couple more here in Riverside. But I just started the carniceria because something
How's that
different
going
too.
right now, Rob?
It's going well, bro.
Yeah.
It's picking up. We've been on it for, because I have a partner.
Yeah.
My partner Ivan, and it's about 5 months, 5 to 6 months, and it's already doing good to a point where we're not spending our own money, but there's so many things, bro. Que the permits, que the insurance, que the city comes. Oh, you got to do that, because when you open something new, and it was already something that was there. So we didn't start it brand new. It was we bought it from somebody. So we just redid it.
Yeah.
And so they come in with so many different things, que your AC, que this. So there's a lot of expenses. Yeah. But it's doing good, bro. It's doing good. It's picking up little by little. Every week we see improvement.
And besides the ranch that you have there, you have other investments, properties that in Riverside, Robert?
Yeah, that's where my camp is at, where I live. My son is in Menifee. So like I said, that's
good.
It's the best thing to do, especially for boxers that make good chunks of money and didn't have the knowledge of business or anything like that. Buy a property, man.
Invest.
Buy a property. That's what I told Bam. Now that you're making real good money, Bam, every fight, buy a house.
And he's originally from
San Antonio, Texas. So they're a lot more affordable.
Yeah.
I say it doesn't matter how much money you make.
Rent it out.
Buy a house and rent it out. I told him, I promise you, in 10 fights, you're going to have 10 houses. You're going to be set for the rest of your life. Yeah. Your brother, your dad are all going to be set.
Isn't that the sad thing, Robert, that a lot of fighters make millions and millions and then end up being broke?
It's sad,
and
bro.
I know a lot of fighters like that.
It's sad, bro. It is sad. It's sad, and I hate to see it because it's a tough sport, man. These guys go through training camps, stay away from family, beatings. A lot of them end up with speech problems, balance problems. You know it, Ricky.
Yeah.
And they made money, but they spend it all. They spend it all, and
because they think, oh, I'm gonna fight again.
Next fight. I'll make it up next fight. That next fight might never come.
Yeah.
That next
you
fight
might get injured.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. That next fight might never come.
Well, Robert, man, thank you for coming. Anywhere they could follow you, Robert?
At Garcia Boxing.
At Garcia Boxing.
Yeah, Simon.
And that's the only social media you use?
I think that's all I have.
At Garcia Boxing.
Yeah, at Garcia
Robert,
Boxing.
thank you so much, brother.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Thank you.
Ya sabes.